Welcome, everybody, to the Redzone Report, brought to you by Picasso's Pizza. Look, I don't live in Buffalo, but when I go to Picasso's Pizza. Let's go, Bills. Welcome, everybody, to the Redzone Report right here on the Built in Buffalo YouTube, Facebook, and X channels. It's your man, Izzy. I am here live. I know it's been a couple of weeks since I've been live. Last week I did a recorded show. Today I am live. Let's go, baby. Right? And just to reiterate, this show is brought to you by Picasso's Pizza. I don't live in Buffalo, but when I go, I get Picasso's, baby. Now, I see Joey Hatch in the comments already. What's good, my people? Go Buffalo Bills. You're damn right, baby boy. And there's a lot of stuff to talk about. Not really, actually, just OTAs and basic coaching and player stuff. So today I decided to take it to a place where we're going to talk about the coaches, right? I haven't done a show highlighting the coaches this year yet, and so I'm going to do that, right? I've mentioned them in certain streams where I'm talking about players and how, Joe Brady's going to use this guy to do that, and Bobby Babbitt is going to do this, and that's all fine and well. And I'm going to highlight the coordinators and the head coach, but I'm also going to talk about the other coaches under them and highlight some of what they are and what they do, right? So we're going to get started. And the first one we need to talk about, of course, is the man that took this team from freaking poverty and the drought and made this team a winner again. And that is head coach Sean McDermott. Sean McDermott has a long history of coaching from his alma mater, William & Mary, all the way to the Philadelphia Eagles, where he was a defensive assistant and he was a defensive coordinator. He was a positions coach. Then he ended up in Carolina under Ron Rivera as a defensive coordinator. And his time in Carolina is what led to him coming to the Buffalo Bills. My man Sean McDermott has a excellent record when it comes to coaching. His, regular season record is 73-41. His postseason record is 5-6. Overall career record of 78-47. A very good coaching record indeed. I think he is the winningest coach in Buffalo Bills history when it comes to percentage. And so, yeah, that's where I'm at with my man, Coach McDermott here. What up, Is? How you doing, Lance? Good to have you in the show here. And my man Kim, always here. Let's go, Kim. Love having my guys here. Daniel Gari's in the building. Let's go. Chris 716. You better believe it. Now, Coach McDermott has spent time all over the league. Man, I wouldn't say all over the league. He's had some time in Philly and some time in Carolina. And then the Bills after that. And now Sean McDermott's here, and it's time for him to take a step. Right? I got my man Chris in the building here. See, coaching is and has been the downfall of this team in the playoffs. Fake punt to Hamlin, playing zone defense in the snow against Bengals, and 13-second debacle all happened in the playoffs. Not sold on his coach, and that's fine. Not everybody is. I am sold on Sean McDermott. He's going to eventually get over the hump, I believe, whether it's here or if we let him go and he goes somewhere else. I believe that he is going to be the type of coach who's going to learn from his mistakes. And this year and in this video, I hope to highlight some of that. And, some of the points that you gave are pretty valid. 13 seconds debacle, that's partly on him, partly on Frazier. I put it on that. Also, the quality of corner we had in there. I think that he maybe felt like he had to play it safe, especially with Tyreek Hill on the other side. Neither here nor there. When you have Dane Jackson and Levi Wallace out there, I think you got to play a little safe. The fake punt, yeah, I agree. But the fake punt, they had 10 guys in the field. If you're going to do it then. But if you're going to do it to a running back. Like have somebody like Ty Johnson out there. I think he was out there on that play. Give it to him. Don't give it to freaking. Don't give it to DeMar Hamlin. He's not a running back, right? He's not a guy who has the ball in his hands on a consistent basis. That's not his job, right? And he looked lost doing it. Uh, you know, the Bengals thing, that was just a team thing, man. I don't see the coaching as much of a problem in that one as much as the players just being done with it. I really can't. I that one seemed the whole players, being done with the whole season after the whole Hamlin injury and just all the stuff that happened that year, the shooting at Tops. I hate to rehash all that. Dawson Knox's brother Luke dying, uh, all the injuries, Micah Hyde's neck, all that good, crazy stuff. The fake punt, I can't explain that one. I can't explain the fake punt to Hamlin on our side of the 30. If it was to a running back like Ty Johnson, then I can explain that. Like, okay, it was 10 men on the field. You had the opportunity to go and get it, and you just came up short. If you come up short with a running back, I get it. But because it was Hamlin, everybody's like, "Oh my god!" And I agree. That one was a terrible one. That was a terrible one. But that game did not come down to the fake punt with Hamlin. It came down to a lot of things. Drop passes from Sherfield and Diggs. Deion Dawkins being pushed into Josh when he had Shakir open in the end zone. Usually Josh makes those passes, and those even if he gets bumped, he's usually on point with that type of thing. That time he wasn't. There's a lot of different reasons why we lost that last playoff game, but I don't like the whole Hamlin thing. I'm with you on that. I can't sit here and defend giving DeMar Hamlin the ball on a fake punt. I can't do it. I won't do it. I refuse. So that's where I'm at with that. I won't defend the Hamlin thing. I can't. It's indefensible. See, you don't know how to get to the next level as a coach. You know how long it took Andy Reid to win a Super Bowl. He got booted out of a couple of towns before he got one. He only got booted out of one. He got booted out of Philadelphia, and then he went to KC. And right then, he turned Alex Smith into a quarterback with a 13-win season, and then then he won Super Bowls with Patrick Mahomes, 3 of them, and been in the AFC Championship game 6 seasons in a row. I think that there's a lot of learning to be done by Sean McDermott. And I think the coaches that he chose to be on his staff this year are a direct reflection of him seeing that, okay, what I've been doing isn't working, and it's time to get some new heads in here to help me grow, right? The Bills team has predominantly been mostly a zone defense. He's brought in some guys to help facilitate a more mixed zone and man coverage defense. So I think that there'll be, there'll be some things that are changed, and I think I expect to see them. So yeah, we'll get there. I don't disagree with all the points that people who don't like Sean McDermott have. Some of them have some really good valid points, and you presented some too, Chris. Joey, yeah, you're not wrong with your take there. But yeah, game, the weather, and us. The bed was that was on us, but the offensive coordinator should have changed the play. Yeah, that was Dorsey. Joey in the Bengals game. That was Dorsey's baby, and it fell flat on his face. And Dorsey is no longer here. He's now elsewhere doing his thing. I think he's in Cleveland now. So, yeah, I'm with you guys on that. But I do think that this video should hopefully highlight some potential growth for this coaching staff in general. And so, Sean McDermott, I believe, is a fine head coach. He's a damn good head coach. He just needs to grow. And yeah. See, Joey Hatch, the 13 seconds, some people say it was Sean McDermott's defense. Some people say it was Leslie Frazier's. Either way, it was coaching. I agree. It was coaching. Now, here's what I'll say. I'll concede that it was Sean McDermott's defense. But I will say that it had Leslie Frazier's calling it. Now, did Leslie Frazier or Sean McDermott call the 13 seconds? I don't think anybody will ever really know. No one will really ever know. Neither of those two guys is going to throw the other under the bus, and neither of those two guys is going to flat out say it was him or it was me. They're going to leave that to the imagination of the fans, right? And that's probably where it should be, right? You don't want to throw anybody under the bus, cost them potential future opportunities. So you just kind of bite the bullet on that one and say, we decided that, blase, whatever. See, the fake punt was bad. It seemed like an automatic audible that should never have happened. And that could have been an automatic audible. Um, I don't know if it was called pre-play or anything like that, but 13 or 10 guys on the field for the other team, and they felt like it was the way to go. You go for it. I don't know if it was something that the punter had to call, or if it was like a coaching, sideline thing. But they tried it, it failed, and it was a terrible play. No ifs, ands, or buts. But again, the staff that Sean McDermott has now put together, I think, potentially is an improvement, and we're going to go over that. And that really does begin with his choice in coordinators and supporting coaches, right? So, defensive coordinator Bobby Babbage Jr. Now, to me, this guy seems like an all-star coach in the making. Bobby Babbage Jr. coached these safeties to all-pro seasons in Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. Then he coached our linebackers to all-pro season and Pro Bowl season with Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano. Matt Milano's first time going all-pro, when we Bills fans have known that he was capable of doing it, he just hadn't done it. And then Tremaine Edmonds having, to me, his second best year of his career, his last year in Buffalo, going to get paid big bucks by the Bears. This guy right here is a stud coach, in my opinion. He's a guy who's going to come out day in and day out and have these guys balling out and playing well, right? Every single time he's had a specific group of players, they have played extremely well, Pro Bowl and all-pro level players. And to me, that's very important. I think it's very important that Sean McDermott is promoting from within guys who are worthy of being promoted. And when the guys who are on this staff are not worthy, he lets them go. I think that's very, very important. When he felt that the Leslie Frazier thing run its course, they parted ways mutually. When Ken Dorsey wasn't getting it done, let him go. Right? His offense looked good that first year, but after that, this year it looked like crap, and we all know it did. We all know it did. See, Daniel Gari says McDermott did a great job with very banged up defense that he coached into a top 10 unit, but he needs to improve more as a head coach. I agree. He needs to improve more as a head coach. And I don't think that being the defensive coordinator and head coach is going to facilitate that at all. I think that having an actual DC to call the defense, or at least draw up the defensive game plans for him, is going to be a benefit to him. I think that he took on way too much on his plate last year, and we did very admirable with that. And the experiment was something that needed to happen. However, you got to learn from that, and it seems like he did. He's like, all right, I'm not doing that again. Not doing that again. See, between this year and next year will be a way stronger team. Casey called a timeout after going 19 yards with the Hill, McDermott or Frazier had a chance to change the defense and didn't. I agree. They didn't. I really love both OC and DC we have this year. I do too. Bobby Babbage has worked his way up. Yes, he has. Looked at your Twitter, and I appreciate your service. Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you for saying that, Zach. I say this a lot, when people say stuff like this. Thank you for your service. When you're in the military, you don't really understand it because you're just doing your job. And to you, it's just a job at the time. It's not until you get out on the back end, for most people, I think, that they really fully understand that they've done something special. And so I appreciate that very much. That sentiment means the world to me. Will McDermott let Babbage call the defense? I think that he will probably call the defense for the first little while, McDermott being, and then he'll slowly give the reins over to Babbage because it's Babbage's first year and kind of show him the ropes of defensive coordinating, because Bobby Babbage last year linebackers coach, right? He wasn't really coordinating anything, and now he's going through that. So I think this year is going to be a learning experience for him, and that the training wheels will be off before probably mid-season, and then it'll be Bobby Babbage's baby. I believe that Bobby Babbage will have the role of setting up the game plans and deciding on how this defense is going to attack the opposing offense. And so Bobby Babich is going to play a crucial role, as he has the last few years, for this defense in ensuring this defense is well prepared, and that the players are well coached, and that he gets the most out of the players, and that he designs his defense based upon their strengths rather than, opposed to that. There you go. Bobby Babich, or McDermott's bringing Bobby Babich along, mentoring. I think so. All right. So, yeah, Bobby Babich Jr., whenever I see an interview with this guy, man, he just comes off to me as a guy who has it going on. Man, Robbie in the building. Let's go. Hi, Izzy. Go Bills. What's good, brother? Life's good, baby. Life is good. If you guys hear a faint doggy in the background, my dog misbehaved, so she had to be in the cage, so she's not happy. So sorry about that. But yeah, the coach that Bobby Babich has grown to become, and his father was the linebackers coach when he was the safeties coach, right? Man, so many familiar faces. Joseph A. Brereton back in the building. Let's go. Roy Collins in here. Joey, man, I love you guys. Thank you for being here with me. Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, man. I got everybody here, so let's go. But Bobby Babich Jr., again, was here with his father, was learning, the positional coaching from his father. And then his father retired. He took over his father's job and did a better job than his father did, which his father did a good job. Matt Milano was excellent under Bobby Babich Sr. Tremaine Edmonds was very good under Bobby Babich Sr. Then Bobby Babich Jr. took over, and all of a sudden, those guys just looked so much more prepared. They looked better. And so I have very high hopes for Bobby Babich Jr. I see him as a future head coach in this NFL, and I don't see it being that long. Maybe 3-4 years, and then someone's going to try and snatch him up to be a head coach. I can see a lot. See, Joey Hatch says he learned a lot from the old man, but he does it better. Yeah, I agree. At some point in time, the student may pass the teacher, and Bobby Babich Jr. has. And I'm very happy that Sean McDermott saw that. And that gives me hope for not just Bobby Babich Jr., but for Sean McDermott recognizing the talent that he has and promoting it and using it to its maximum capacity. And so Bobby Babich Jr., with his, assistants, like safeties coach, Joe Dana. Joe Dana coming in, safety coach. Joe Dana is a guy who presents some real fundamental ability with safeties, right? And Sean McDermott, also a safety specialist. And then Bobby Babich, of course, very good with safeties. So Joe Dana is going to be given the opportunity to grow under two coaches who coach secondary very well, in Bobby Babich Jr. and Sean McDermott. I think that Joe Dana is going to be a coach that can learn. He is a former coach at Central Michigan, Georgia Southern, James Madison. He coached for the Falcons as a defensive quality control coach. He was an assistant secondary coach for the Dolphins. He coached for the Falcons as a defensive backs coach. He coached for the Jets defensive backs coach from 2015 to 2016, Jacksonville Jaguars. He was a nickelback coach for the Jags. He was a safeties coach for Houston last year, or 2 years ago. And last year and this year, he's with the Bills. And so Joe Dana, learning from some of the best, safety coaches in the game, and McDermott and Bobby Babich, has some potential. See, I don't care who called the 13 seconds. McDermott is the head coach, needs to step in. I could see from my TV before the first snap it was coming. I don't know about all that, but if you saw it coming, then drink that water, baby. But he is the head coach, and he probably trusted his players, and it is what it is. Or maybe he didn't trust his players, and that's why he ran prevent, because again, you got burners like Pringle and Hill, and they're being guarded by guys who couldn't cover them with a blanket that day in freaking Levi Wallace and Dane Jackson. They're just not fast enough. And so there we go. So McDermott is the head coach. Stop with excuses for him. He can intervene anytime he froze, bottom line. I don't know if I agree with that either. Did he freeze? No, I just don't think he trusted the corners to guard those receivers. Man to man. If you put them man to man in that situation, which is what most people would do if they really wanted to stop him, but they had too much speed. And so that's what it is. You have to, you as a head coach, and it comes back to bite you, or it comes back to make you look like a genius either way, right? Either way, it makes you look either stupid or smart. If DeMar Hamlin gets the first down, oh my God, what a genius play. But because it failed, it is what it is. It sucked. And we can all say you shouldn't have did that. And probably if we knew it was coming before it happened, we probably would be like, no, don't do it. Well, in that situation with Levi Wallace and Dane Jackson out there, Dane was a rookie at the time. You know, it just is what it is, man. But you're not wrong. He is a head coach, and he could intervene anytime. And maybe that was his intervention. Maybe that was his intervention. Maybe his intervention was like, look, we're going to run prevent. We're not letting them hit nothing deep on us because if they score a touchdown here, it's over, right? But instead, they got it down the field. They went to overtime, and they made it over and overtime. And so it is what it is. It is what it is. See, he screwed up the kickoff. Needs to face that he choked. Look, the team choked that game. He choked as a coach. Josh didn't choke that game. Josh had an awesome game. Gabe had an awesome game. Diggs choked. He didn't do shit that game. And also so did freaking the defense. The defense choked. No ifs, ands, or maybes. We allowed freaking 40 plus points in that game. Like it was a freaking mess, man. But it's the Chiefs. You tell me that you're gonna be mad at a coach for not being able to stop Mahomes and the Chiefs, and you should be mad at every single coach in the NFL. That's just the reality of it. See, if McDermott brings back AJ Klein again, then I'll have serious questions. I understand you're being sarcastic because he's never coming back. How about double teaming Kelsey? You let him run free. Please stop. Double teaming Kelsey. Okay, so you double team Kelsey in that game, and then you have Tyreek Hill 1-on-1, and you have Byron Pringle 1-on-1, or you have Mecole Hardman 1-on-1. None of our corners are guarding those guys 1-on-1. Those guys are too fast. You double team Kelsey if you want to, but then that just means that you're 1-on-1 with everybody else. I don't think that's a very good strategy against the Chiefs. It doesn't really work that often. So there's that. But yeah. Going back to the assistants, the Bills brought in a new cornerbacks coach in Jamil Adai. Okay. Jamil Adai is the new cornerbacks coach here. He came from the University of Miami. They run a lot of man-to-man coverage. They got rid of former longtime coach from the McDermott's, old times, right? He just, I forget what his name was now, but he's no longer with the team. And apparently he did not like Kyer Elam. And that apparently was a big reason why Kyer Elam didn't see the field a lot. Maybe. Very speculative. I don't want to speculate on that. But Jamil Adai should help the Buffalo Bills develop some man coverage and allow them to run man coverage against teams who are more susceptible to that. The Bills run zone coverage more than just about anybody in the NFL. And it gets predictable, right? Especially against teams like the Chiefs and teams like the Bengals, who just pick us apart when we're sitting there in zone. I think that no one here in the comments will have any qualms about me saying the teams like the Chiefs and the teams like the Bengals and teams like, hell, Denver last year just pick apart our zone defense because they have a quarterback who's smart enough to do so. And if you give enough time, they're going to get their guy. Our safety coach, who was the last guy I talked about, is Joe Dana. His second year here as our safety coach. Did a pretty good job last year. Our safeties were pretty on point, but it was Hyde and Poyer, and then Rapp came along later on. So I think that, I think he'll be fine there. Plus, again, Bobby Babich, who excellent with safeties, and Sean McDermott, excellent with safeties, are head coach and defensive coordinator. So I'm not so worried about the defense, the safeties coach, because he's got good company if he needs any help. And if not, then we're good. We have a good safeties coach. But Adai did a lot of man-to-man stuff at Miami. He was with Georgia before that. They won national championships there. He coached some amazing cornerbacks, two of which went in the first round. I forget what their names were. They were really, really fast. One of them went to the Packers, I believe. But yeah, he coached an amazing secondary in Georgia, man to man. It's the SEC in Georgia. Then he goes to Miami, man to man specialist. I think that coming to Buffalo, he's going to be able to help this team transition from a purely zone team or a 99% or whatever 90% zone team to more of a 65-35. You know, when you're out there and you need to get somebody one-on-one or man-to-man, and you have a guy like Kaiir Elam, who is a press man corner, you have now a coach who can take advantage of the abilities of some of those players. And so I see Roll Tide in the comments. I'm not a Georgia fan, baby. I'm not a Georgia fan, so don't take my head off with that. But Georgia, they've been excellent the last few years. Secondary's been on point. He won national championship there, so good for him there in Georgia. Jesus Christ, my nose is itching. See, I wonder what the new quarterback coach can help Kaiir. So that's exactly what I think they brought him here for. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that he's here to help guys like Kaiir Elam become a more formidable force in this defense. He can help him, with the transition from man to zone. And I think that he'll be able to get this team's other corners, who are mostly, zone corners, to be able to transition somewhat into man coverage, right? If all of your defensive coaches coach one way, how are you going to be versatile at all? It's very difficult to do that. So what do? You bring in some other guys with some other expertises that can help you develop. And if you need guys who can coach zone, guess what? McDermott and Babbage still here. Let's see. I mean, Sal, you can be mad at McDermott. I get it, right? You're mad at McDermott. You're not happy with all the stuff he's done, and that's fine. That's fine, right? No coach is perfect. Every single one of them is screwed up, and there's two types of coaches in the NFL: those who have been fired and those that will be fired. Those just the rules, right? When Andy Reid was in Philadelphia, 4 NFC Championship games in a row, 1 Super Bowl, lost it. It happens. It sucks, but you grow. You have to grow. And I think that the guys he brought in, like Jamila Dye, are a good example of people he's brought in here to help him grow and to help develop them as coaches so they can become better themselves. So it is what it is. So even with a squib kick, the kick doesn't start until someone touches the ball. That's true. The clock does not start until someone touches the ball. So what do? They down it maybe? They grab it, they down it. Still in the same situation. So squib kick is what it is, man. Also, you had a rookie kicker that year who, maybe you didn't work on a ton of squibs. Maybe you just weren't counting on needing to squib, which is a coaching mistake in itself. So, or maybe he just wasn't good at it. So how long you giving him? Please explain. How long? I don't give him anything. He's the coach here, and that's as long as Pagula has him. But personally, he's going out there. He's winning division championships every year. He's winning a playoff game, at least one every year for the last 4 years. I give him until I don't know. Until he looks completely incompetent, right? Until we start losing and this team the defense isn't good. The defense has been top 10 every year since 2019. So as long as the defense is looking fine and he's bringing in guys and developing guys, I don't know. I don't have an answer to that question. I wish I did, but I definitely wouldn't fire him now. Now, I'm not sure I would fire him next year, especially since we've lost a lot of players. We have a lot of young guys coming in now that they're going to be developing this year. If we make the playoffs and don't win a playoff game this year, say the Jets or the Dolphins win the division, those guys look pretty tough this year. The Jets specifically, not the Dolphins. I'm not worried about the Dolphins. But if the Jets can get their stuff together, they have a very talented roster. If their coaches can get their shit together, the Jets can be scary. But I don't know that they can. I don't have a lot of faith in Nathaniel Hackett. You're a Bills fan. You understand why. And I also don't have a lot of faith in Robert Saleh. And his head coaching has been a big reason as to why I don't have a lot of faith in Robert Saleh. He has not given me a good reason to have much faith in him. So he's the Jets coach, so I don't care. See, our defense is one dimensional. We need other. That's exactly why this right here, this comment right here, is exactly why you bring in a Jamil Adai, someone who can give you some man coverage ability, somebody who can come in here and school up these guys and teach them, hey, when it's time to go man, we need to be successful. We need to press. We need to do this. We need to do that. We need to, get in their face. Or if it's this guy, give him some cushion. This guy doesn't do good against this. This guy doesn't do good against that. You bring in another guy with a different philosophy. You still have yourself, so your philosophy is still intact, and you move forward. Now, nickel cornerback coach. Nickelback. How you remind me, right? Scott Booker. I don't know much about him. I don't know a lot about Scott Booker, but I have the internet in front of me, so I can just type his name in here and see what it says, where he's been. Scott Booker. Now, boom, I have this here. So Scott Booker, nickel and senior defensive assistant. See, last 6 seasons. So the last 6 seasons been with the Titans. He was the safeties coach from 2020 to 2023 with them, and the defensive assistant from 2018 2019 for the Titans. So he's been a defensive assistant with the Bills from 2020 to 2023, and he's now promoted to nickelbacks coach. He's with the Titans before that. Again, another coach here to learn. I'm guessing he's here more to learn than to contribute to the change in defensive philosophy, but I could be wrong. I do know that the Titans run more man than the Bills, and so being there for those couple years may have been a thing. It was Vrabel's defense at the time, and so with Mike Vrabel, that defense was very capable. So I'll say that. See, I think Sean needs to grow, but some of the question is who would replace him with. I live in Pittsburgh now, and they want to fire Mike Tomlin every year. When Sean can't or won't grow, then we should move on. For now, he is doing well and growing, so I wouldn't get rid of him. But I'm glad they realized that last part. I'm glad he realized he needed a defensive coordinator. Yeah, that experiment, it wasn't it. It wasn't it. Also, the interest on defense, but still, I think it was too much for him. His other coaching aspects kind of took a hit for me. His time management seemed to take a hit. His, game planning was, a hit. Like, say, I think that he had too much on his plate. Like, he's been a head coach now for 7 years. That's still relatively young, in my opinion, especially when you have never ever done defensive coordinator and head coach at the same time. I think he has the ability to do it, and he did it last year and won a division. But what did we do in the playoffs when push came to shove? The defense played fairly well against KC, but Mahomes still Mahomes them, right? But Mahomes is going to do that to just about everybody. He did it to everybody in the playoffs. He ate the Ravens defense alive. The freaking Chiefs versus the Ravens, man, that was nuts. They destroyed them, and it wasn't close. And then their defense, what they did to Lamar Jackson, was downright criminal. I'm gonna pull this up here because they put up 27 against us. Let's see. No, I don't want that. Okay, so no, they didn't demolish them. 17-10. That defense demolished Lamar Jackson is what happened there. Yeah. That's pretty rough. So yeah, he didn't Mahomes their defense. So it was at the AFL Championship game for the first Super Bowl. Seeing coaches come and go. Josh needs a strong head coach. Never gets away with some of the stuff he does with Parcells, Holmgren, Belch. I think McDermott is a strong head coach. They've tried to limit Josh Allen in what he does. They tried putting him in a box. It didn't work. They did it with Dorsey. Dorsey tried to box him in, make him a pocket passer. Don't run the ball so much. We won't want you doing this. We're going to mitigate how much you throw deep. We're going to, try and keep things short and intermediate. It didn't work. It didn't work. All right, so the new linebackers coach, now that Bobby Babbage Jr. is now the defensive coordinator, is Al Holcomb. Okay, and I've heard a lot of good things about Al Holcomb, and I'm hoping that he is half the linebackers coach that Bobby Babbage is, because Bobby Babbage was an awesome linebackers coach. He was an awesome linebackers coach, and let's see. I don't think the Kansas City Chiefs versus Baltimore Ravens game was reflective of the score. I remember the second half, KC did whatever they wanted. Yeah, they did. They did, and they basically just milked the clock. They just didn't let them have the ball. And when they did have the ball, they crushed Lamar Jackson. Let's see, this guy Holcomb originally joined the Bills, senior defensive assistant. Holcomb has 15 years NFL coaching experience and has coached in 2 Super Bowls with the Giants. Okay, so there you go. And the Panthers. So he's been a coach on the team that won the Super Bowl and one that lost the Super Bowl. The Buffalo gave KC the best game in the playoffs, in my opinion. Miami scored 7 points. Baltimore scored 10 points. San Francisco scored 19 points in regulation, 22 total with OT. Buffalo scored 24 points. Should have been at least 27 missed field goal. Yeah, it should have been more than that because Diggs dropped that damn pass. That would have put us in the red zone. The field goal would have been much easier if we went for a field goal at that point. And if we score a touchdown, now the Chiefs got to do something about it. They got to score a touchdown because it's 27 to 31. That's a 4-point difference. Now they got to go and score a touchdown, and the defense was starting to pick up. So yeah, Al Holcomb, linebackers coach, he's got a good career so far in the NFL. I think he'll do just fine. I don't know if I'm gonna go through all these guys because it's too much. I think I'm just gonna focus on the coordinators, guys. So we're gonna go ahead and I'll talk about the last main guy for the Bills defense here. That's Marcus West, defensive line coach. Marcus West, he was here last year, I'm pretty sure. No, that was Eric Washington. So they let go of Eric Washington this offseason. I remember that now. And Marcus West was brought in. I'm gonna pull him up real quick and see exactly where he has been. That's a wide head dude right there. Marcus West joined the Buffalo Bills in 2022 as the team's assistant defensive line coach. So he was with us as the assistant defensive line coach. Was a defensive line coach at several colleges, UNC Charlotte being one of them, and he was promoted. So when Eric Washington got his job with the Bears, Marcus West was promoted. Let's see. Don't forget about the Waterboy coach. Hey, man. Waterboys are players, or are people too, not players too. They're people too. All right, show them Waterboys some respect. Don't get Bobby with shade. All right, so the next coach we're going to talk about is offensive coordinator Joe Brady. We all know Joe Brady. Joe Brady made these Bills look good. The offense looked really good at times last year under Dorsey, and it looked really bad under Dorsey. And then when we let him go, the team took off. Joe Brady took that playbook that Dorsey installed, which wasn't his, and made it work for him. Water sucks. It really, really sucks. Meanwhile, I'm here drinking water. But Joe Brady came in and made this offense into an offense that had life. He went away from the forcing the ball to Diggs and Davis. He went away from, intermediate passes only and short passes only, and Josh don't run. And he's like, "No, Josh, if you got to run, freaking run. Hey, Josh, we'll call a few of these little run plays that you like, but we're going to keep it limited, right? But we're going to run you some." As soon as he started running the ball, as soon as he stopped force feeding Stephon Diggs, as soon as he made Gabe Davis basically play the role he's designed to play, which is a run blocker mostly, because he drops 45 to 50% of the balls are thrown his way. Joe Brady, or it doesn't drop them, but they're incomplete. So 45% of passes that go Gabe Davis's way are incomplete, and that is not acceptable for a number 2 wide receiver in the NFL. Joe Brady had this offense humming when he started to run this offense through Khalil Shakir, Dalton Kincaid, and James Cook, the latter of which had the dropsies at times, which is why we drafted a Ray Davis. Let's hope that he does not live up to the Davis name on this team with drop passes. Uh, Joe Brady, to me, is another superstar coach in the making. Awesome coach at LSU. Joe Burrow set the record for most touchdowns in a season. I think it was 60 in 12 games. My God. Joe Burrow. He also had a star-studded cast of wide receivers there. He had Jamar Chase. He had Jefferson. He had Thaddeus Moss. Randy Moss's son, who is not in the NFL, but he had a pretty solid college career. He also had some of these other guys that are now in the NFL, wreaking havoc from LSU. It became wide receiver U for a reason. It's been for a while, but like he helped exemplify that. Ray Davis is a munchkin mule. Listen here, he's a muscle hamster. Leave him alone, right? He reminds me of Doug Martin from the Buccaneers a few years ago. Not a few years ago. It's like almost 2 decades ago. They called him the muscle hamster, but man. So offense was great with Dable. Knew what made Allen cook. Yeah, and then Dorsey took that away, and then Brady gave it back. It's like, all right, we're gonna give it back to you, but you got to make smarter decisions, and I think that Josh did under Brady. I think that the decisions were smart. See, I think Joe learned from his time as a Panther and grew into what we saw last year. Looking with the Panthers and his playbook, and Teddy Bridgewater at cornerback, he had 2,000-yard receivers, and then Curtis Samuel had 800-plus yards in that season too. So he was on the verge of 3,000-yard receivers that year with Teddy Bridgewater passing the ball. He can make Teddy Bridgewater look that good with his playbook. I think that Josh should be just fine. I'm not sure, how he's going to build the offensive scheme around Josh, because you want to tailor your scheme to the players you have, right? You don't want to just say, this is my playbook, this is what we're running, you're going to run it my way, blah 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 blah. To hell with what you're good at. No, I don't think that's what he's going to do, and I don't think that's what he's ever really done. He's made players around that are on his offense better when he's been there. When he came here as the QB's coach, I think that he helped Josh, perform better. I think that he helped him see the field better. I think he helped Josh realize that he didn't need to freaking rifle every single pass in there. Josh seems to be using more touch on his passes. I don't know if Keon Coleman and MVS are being jokesters when they say, "Hey, yo, Josh throw a hard ball." Nah, man, they keep saying he throws hard. I don't think that was purely sarcastic. I think that Josh is learning from his coaching that not every ball has to be a freaking rocket down the field. So you can put some touch on them and throw it over people, and just put it in a spot, and the spot can be 50 yards down the field just because you have the cannon that you do. You don't have to have a laser; it can be a howitzer. Drop a rainbow on them, and so I think that Joe Brady is going to be integral to this offense. Talking about Ray Davis here. The man was never gave up on life, went from homeless to the NFL. You damn right. Very good. In my opinion, Diggs dropped some or didn't catch the ball because he was not that guy when Brady became OC. Is a team, not a woman. I agree with that, Sandra. If you notice, this year, Diggs had the highest or the lowest catch percentage in his career. Stephon Diggs usually sat right around 80% catching, right? So Josh throws him the ball 80% of the time, he catches the freaking ball. This past year, it dropped to the 60s, I believe, and I'll pull up the numbers right here. I'll tell them to you. I'm not going to pull on the screen because it's too damn much. So 2023, he caught 70%. Okay, so I'm wrong about that. 2020, he caught 76% of them. 62%, 70, 66.9%. Success rate. 2020, 65%. 2021, 54.9%. There's an asterisk there. I'm not sure what that's for. 2022, 64.3%. And then this past year's 55%. So it seemed like Diggs was doing this at first. And then when the offense started to struggle and they switched coordinators, he fell right off. He fell right off. See, I don't know where you guys eat those hard because I don't have any holes in my glove. Yeah, he's hilarious. Keon Coleman is hilarious. So I ain't got no holes in my gloves yet. Josh is a work in progress. He's a learning experience. See, Dable would get in Josh's, but don't know about Brady. Very young. We'll see. We'll see. I know Brady did get into Joe Burrow's, but for the most part at LSU. But I believe that he's going to be someone who doesn't take the Dorsey approach. I mentioned this last year when Dorsey and the offense started to fall apart. That it's hard to follow a guy who doesn't intimidate you at all. Like I got none of that from Dorsey. I didn't get any of that hard coaching from Dorsey. I got some passion from Dorsey when he's throwing the playbook around and getting pissed off. I saw that, but and I liked that when I first saw it. But then as time went on, and I saw more of Ken Dorsey, he seemed more tame than anything, and it seemed like that was more of a temper tantrum than anything. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. So I think that Sean McDermott uh, has the right offensive coordinator now, and he's got the right weapons for that offense. I think that you get some big, tall guys, some big, strong boys out there who are going to be able to. Shout out to the wrestling fans who know what that means. Who coordinators are going to be able to use those guys to the maximum ability, and I love the fact that big boy from Pittsburgh, Chase Claypool, is looking good. Does that mean he's going to make this team? No. Does that mean that he's going to actually take a step and live up to his potential? No. But I like hearing that he is impressing because if that boy does live up to that potential, baby, I tell you what, that man's going to be special. He's going to be special if he can get his stuff together, keep it together. That he could be a steal in free agency. So, yeah. Yo, my favorite guy is I appreciate it, Bobby. Good to see you here again. My man David Highland is hey, let's go. I appreciate it, man. Love you guys. Love you guys. You guys show me so much love, so I got to show it back, man. See, also Brady seems to be learning on Cromer what Dorsey did. Brady seems to be leaning on Cromer more than what Dorsey did. Yes, Brady seems to be leaning on Cromer, and Cromer is a former offensive coordinator. He's got a few guys on his staff. Last year he did at least who were fellow offensive coordinators, and I'm glad that they have a guy like Cromer who can help him with that. And then also the offensive line coach, being a former offensive coordinator, means the world. And I'm going to actually talk about Aaron Cromer as well. But having a guy like Aaron Cromer, who is a former freaking I love you too, bro. Yeah, there we go. Having another guy who is an offensive line coach right now, who is a former offensive coordinator in your stable to help you build that offense is extremely important to me. It means so much to me that he is a guy who has coordinated offenses before, and with the scheme that Brady wants to bring in, you have an offensive line coach who can do just about anything when it comes to the trenches. Love that. I love that. If Claypool doesn't work out in Buffalo, you may see him in the UFL next year. More likely the CFL. He's from Canada, so I think the CFL pays a little better. So that'll probably be where he goes. But I get your point. He'll be in the minors. But I think that if this is a big if he can get back to the first 2 years of his season, if he can get back to those 800-yard years, that guy. I don't know if he's going to get 800 yards this year in Buffalo, but if he can get back to that guy who showed he loved football, that guy who played with Big Ben, if he can get back to that dude, look out. Because then he'll have the ability to live up to his potential. He's only 25. I appreciate it, Ryan. I appreciate that. Yeah. Sometimes these points that I have that people tell me are great points or bad points are something that just, when I look at it, it's kind of something I see as I'm looking at it with you guys, right? So I'm on the show with you guys right now. I didn't put that together before the show. But as I'm talking about the guy, the stuff that I know about him starts to come out. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, he was an OC. Okay. So he was an OC, and he was an OC not that long ago. he knows how to optimize his offensive line with the scheme he's running. So Aaron Cromer should play a huge role in what this team does. And I'm about to pull up his information here because he was a offensive line coach with us before. Then he got in trouble, which I won't talk about, but something about smacking a teenager or something like that. And then he comes back to the Bills, and the Bills had the best offensive line last year that they've had in decades. Decades. I don't know if you guys remember Jordan Mills and John Miller and freaking Cyrus Quanjo, and oh my God, those offensive lines were atrocious. They were a crime against humanity. The humanity being our quarterback at the time. It was freaking terrible. It was freaking terrible. But having a guy, again, like Cromer, former offensive coordinator, to come in here and build his offensive line around the scheme, to me, is magnificent. And so another coach that's going to be very important to the Bills, maybe not as much as people think, but I think that he's going to have a role to play in helping Josh Allen move forward in this defensive scheme, because this guy comes from the Saints. He coached with Brady with the Saints. Okay. So he comes to the Bills this year, and that is quarterbacks coach Ronald Curry. He had different offensive capacities with the Saints, according to BuffaloBills.com. He brings 11 years of NFL coaching experience, and that type of scheme that they run in New Orleans is a lot of what Joe Brady does. And so now you have that scheme, similar scheme to that Drew Brees ran, and now Derek Carr's running a kind of version of it, because I'm sure they've kept some of the coaches there. That scheme is coming to Buffalo with a guy who runs it wonderfully. And so now you have a coach in Ronald Curry coming here who knows that scheme to coach Josh Allen up on the intricacies of that scheme. There's a lot to be happy about when it comes to the coaches. I think the guys that they brought in were very well thought out and very meaningful. They were very meaningful. Let's see. With him knowing it's probably his last chance, I think Claypool is going to have a good year being fourth or fifth wide receiver. So outside of the top three guys, Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, Curtis Samuel, I think at all 3 or 4 of those next spots, it's going to be 6 or 7 wide receivers. Hate me later if you want. That's fine. 6 is the most likely situation. He could be 4th. Hell, he could be 3rd, depending on if he turns into the guy he should be. And when I say should be, I mean the guy he should have become in Pittsburgh, but didn't. So we'll see. We'll see. See, I keep picturing the Phillip Rivers Chargers, big arm QB built around solid run game, big physical wide receivers, and elite tight end. Yeah, let's just hope the defense can deliver in the playoffs to help Phillip Rivers get to the Super Bowl. Claypool has to realize that his last best chance to salvage his NFL career on a contending team. Look, this is, if you're going to save your career as a wide receiver in the NFL, right, and you have potential to be a true number one somewhere, but you just have had piss poor quarterback play for the last 2 years. In your first 2 years, you had pretty good quarterback play from an aging Ben Roethlisberger who didn't have the arm strength or the mobility anymore, but still had the wherewithal and the intelligence to get the ball to where it needed to be. And you thrived under that guy. And then all of a sudden the Wolves pull out from under you. You have Kenny Pickett and Justin Fields. And then you go to the Dolphins when they already established that wide receiver with Cedric Wilson, Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle. So you were basically the 4th leg there, and you weren't going to be used that much. And they had other guys there that they trusted more, plus their tight end. Plus both their running backs are threats in the passing game. You were optioned like 8 or 9 on that team in the Dolphins, so you didn't see the ball much at all. Maybe discouragement isn't such a – maybe it's not such a – maybe it's more understandable that he would be discouraged. I don't say ununderstandable because that sounds stupid, but it's easy to understand why he was discouraged if that's what the problem was. So I don't want to reach and say that this was the problem, that was the problem. Maybe he just doesn't love football. Maybe he does. Maybe he was just upset because of the situation he was in. Maybe he just, I don't know. There's other things that could be, but I don't know. I don't want to sit here and linger on it too much. See, Cromer was in Buffalo before, and the offensive line was ranked number 3 for The last time we had a good offensive line was with Aaron Cromer. See, Cromer has made such a big difference in the O-line's performance, perhaps the best O-line the Bills have ever had. I don't know about ever had because the 90s Bills offensive lines were pretty great with Kent Hull and them boys, but man, Quanjo was ruined by poor coaching. Cromer would have maximized him. Potentially. I remember the offensive line coach just diminishing him, like calling him Venus de Milo. I don't know if you know the Greek statue with no arms. Like, yeah, you know the Venus de Milo out there. Terrible. Chantrell Henderson, Jesus. That dude, he had Crohn's disease, and I think he kept getting suspended for weed, which, one of the medical remedies for that is marijuana. It's one of the things, but he just kept getting in trouble, with that, and then he kept getting hurt. So I think it was Crohn's disease. So I agree, JA17 going to change things. He's going to change things, and he's got the coaches around him to help him learn this new offense. You got an offensive coordinator who's built an offense that won a national championship in college and turned Teddy Bridgewater into a quarterback who had 2,000-yard receivers. He was in New Orleans as a offensive assistant with Drew Brees and Sean Payton, so he's learned from some of the best coaching in the NFL. He coached under Coach O at LSU. He has learned from some of the best. And so now you have him bringing his playbook and his quarterback's coach to help Josh learn the playbook and be better in it. Josh Allen in this offense has so much potential. So much potential. I see great things, but I don't know if it's going to be this year or if it'll be a year from now. But if the growth of Khalil Shakir goes the way I picture it going, and if Keon Coleman can be a number 2 receiver at best or at worst, maybe 3, maybe number 3 receiver, maybe he turns into that slot guy that the people with the combine said he might be. And if Curtis Samuel can get his stuff together and be that intermediate threat that he's known to be with speed and yak, maybe, just maybe, though this offense can be the beast that it should be. Maybe, just maybe. Let's see. Keon is the shit, no doubt. Look, Keon Coleman, I want to see it. I love the fact that Bills fans and media guys in Buffalo are hyping him up. And I love the fact that he's quick to correct people and say, whoa, 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 I ain't done shit yet. Nothing happened yet. I'm still learning. I got a way to go. Like, I love the fact that he understands that he has the work to put in still. He still has to do the work. He still has to go out there and practice. He still has to do a lot to really become that guy. I love that. I love that. See, Brady, a Sean Payton disciple, might see the old Saints offense with emphasis on throwing to the backs. Yeah. Yes. Yes, sir. You're seeing what I'm seeing now. You're picking up what I'm putting down. All right, Sal. But yeah, Ronald Curry's gonna be another guy who's very important in the development of Josh Allen in this new scheme. Another guy, another coach that's gonna be important. Adam Henry and Rob Boris. I should have put them both on the same side. You know what? I'm gonna do that. Control X. Boom. Save. Boom. Adam Henry and Rob Boris are going to be 2 very important coaches to this team. Adam Henry is our wide receivers coach. Rob Boris is our tight ends coach. The most important group on this offense developmentally are our pass catchers. I know that Bills fans have noticed the trend that's gone on this year, right? Stephon Diggs is gone. Gabe Davis is gone. The days of Cole Beasley and John Brown have long been over. If you look at the early days of McDermott, he brought in guys like Zay Jones and he brought in guys like Kelvin Benjamin. He's always been a guy who wanted bigger receivers, it appears, right? When that didn't work out, he went a different route. He went and got John Brown, Cole Beasley, and our wide receiver core was known as the Smurfs. Then, once the Diggs, thing has worn its course and he realized that Gabe Davis is nothing better than a 55% receiver every year, that it's time to move on from those 2 guys and bring in some beef. He brings in Keon Coleman, 6'4", 215. He brings in Curtis Samuel, 6 foot, but he's like 210. Former running back. Don't be surprised if you see him coming out the backfield too. Running and catching. Screenplays galore with him. Brought in Mac Hollins, 6'4", like 225. Brought in Chase Claypool, 6'4", 239, 240. Let's just cut the BS. 239. These guys are going to be integral. And Roy Collins, you are correct. He has been here for years now, and he helped develop Dawson Knox from a guy at Ole Miss who had 0 touchdown catches in his college career to a guy who was putting up 6 to 8 for the first 4 years of his career. Rob Ward's been here for a while. He helped develop Dawson Knox. And, Dawson Knox had some drop issues early, but that's a Dawson Knox issue, not a coaching issue. They can teach you, but you got to put it together. But Dawson Knox got better the year before last, and then this past year, with the injury to his wrist, he didn't look so good. But he did make some plays for us this year. But these two guys are going to be very integral in the growth of Dalton Kincaid, Khalil Shakir, Chase Claypool, who is 25, he's still learning, Keon Coleman. These two guys right here are going to be super important to those guys moving forward. Rob Boras and Adam Henry. Adam Henry has coached guys like Odell Beckham Jr. in the past, right? Guys who people look at as a diva. And now you look at this wide receiver room. There's not a diva in sight. There's no divas in this wide receiver room, right? There's nobody on this receiver core that should be like, that guy. No. Freaking Keon Coleman's talking about bargain bin shopping at Macy's. Khalil Shakir is the son of a veteran, and thank you, Mr. Shakir, for your service. He's a former Marine. Don't say ex-Marine. That means that they were disarmed or discharged. They take that serious. Marines they're a different breed. I would make fun because, Army and Marines have their little rivalry going, and, I get some Marines that hit me up sometimes, but yeah, he comes from a family of strict discipline in a military family. And then you look at Mac Hollins, never really been that big guy, loves run blocking. Chase Claypool, who looked like he was becoming a diva and has been humbled, no longer a diva. There's not a diva wide receiver in this group. Not KJ Hamler, not Andy Isabella, none of those guys. Tyrell Shavers, not a single diva in this wide receiver room. You have guys like Adam Henry and Rob Boras who are going to take Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, Quentin Morris, and the entire wide receiver room that I just named and help them grow into better. Quentin Morris, get your hands together. And he doesn't drop passes, Quentin Morris. Like Quentin Morris might be a tight end 2 in this league if he didn't fumble the damn ball so much. That's why Josh throws it to him in the end zone, because he can't fumble if he scored a touchdown. This is not how it works. But I remember him catching balls and, having an awesome run after the catch, and then somebody and the ball comes out. And so that's why he's tight end 3 and not tight end 2 somewhere else. But I think Quentin Morris has potential to do that if he can, minimize the fumbles. But I digress. See, Roy Collins, I did 6 years in the Army National Guard many moons ago. All right, Nasty Girls, NG, National Guard. No, I'm just messing with you. The National Guard, I deployed with a bunch of those guys, and a lot of those guys are super dedicated to the military. Like, any chance they get to deploy, they deploy. They're like, yeah, I'll go. But 82nd needs a guy to do avionics maintenance. Yeah, let's go. Or they need a sheet metal guy. Let's go. Like, I've seen it. Those guys, a lot of those guys are extremely dedicated. The reserves, I haven't seen as much dedication from, but I digress. The National Guard, I've seen those guys, and they're different. I love my guys in the National Guard and the Reserve, but I've seen them both. And the National Guard, they got their stuff together. See, I think Diggs was causing some of Josh's interceptions. Josh feeling he had to get him the ball no matter what. Just my opinion. No, that's the opinion of many people. I don't think you're incorrect in that at all. I think that it had a degree, an extent to it. Yeah. See, I was a grenadier. Let's go, baby. I like grenadine in my drinks. Grenadiers. I think that's an 11 series. Man, Combat Arms is different. This tight end group, Kincaid, Knox, and Morris, is the best tight end group the Bills have had, in my opinion. I agree. The Bills have not really been known for having great tight ends. Like Robert Royal was one of the better tight ends we had. Jay Remersma was one of the better tight ends we had. Uh, Smerlis, I think, was a tight end. Like we haven't been known for our tight ends really. So having Knox and Kincaid, Knox for the short intermediate and Kincaid for the route running and the jump balls. Yeah, man. I'm not mad at that at all. Last guy, I think that will be a very important guy on this offense, though, is Kelly Skipper, running back coach. This guy right here. Oh man, I'm thirsty. Kelly Skipper. Let me pull him up so I don't have his information wrong. Boom. That's a big boy. So he's in his 7th season with the Bills as the running back coach. So he's been here since Devin Singletary was drafted, since Sean McCoy was here. So over 6 seasons as the running back coach for Buffalo. He's been here in Buffalo for 7. Has led the Bills unit to 126 rushing yards per game, which is the 7th highest average in the NFL. So we have a solid running back coach. He'll coach him up. We got a rookie who needs that coaching up, but I think that he'll be fine. Ty Johnson last year looked good for us. I'm not too mad. M203. Wow. Okay, that's a fun one to shoot. It's a fun one to shoot. Here, Kelly Skipper. I think Gilligan's out. Okay, you're showing your age, my man Roy. You're showing your age. But yeah, Kelly Skipper. I think that our running backs are in good hands. I like it. Let's see, Daniel Gary's the wide receiver group. The number 1 wide receiver is a question, but every other wide receiver position in the group has me optimistic for the future. Look, I don't know necessarily that a number 1 wide receiver is fully necessary, and I think that if you have a bunch of guys who have the potential to get there, we have 3 in my opinion. 11 Charlie, let's go. If you have a bunch of guys who have the potential to become the more wide receivers, which to me, I think there's 3 on this team that potentially could get there. They're Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, and Chase Claypool. They have the potential to be that. Keon Coleman hasn't taken a snap yet, so we don't know. Khalil Shakir last year, when Dorsey became fired and Brady became the coach of the offense, his potential started to shine through. With half the receptions, he put up more yardage than Stephon Diggs. He started scoring touchdowns, and he started becoming a go-to wide receiver for the Bills. And if he can do that instead of 7 weeks, if he can do it for 17 weeks or 17 games, the difference could be potentially a number 1 caliber wide receiver. Does that mean he's an elite number 1 wide receiver? No. You have your different classes. You have your number 1 wide receiver who is just the guy you can trust to be your number 1 guy. Diggs is not just a number 1 wide receiver. Diggs is a elite number 1 wide receiver. He is a top 5, top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. Like those are your elite guys. Cooper Kupp when he was healthy. I'm missing some names here. Mike Evans, like those guys are in a league of their own. Those top 10 guys, they're up here, and then you have other number 1 wide receivers beneath them. Khalil Shakir, I think, has potential to get there. Chase Claypool, he has the potential, but he's lost his way. He's fallen off the path. If he can get back on Snake Way and get to King Kai, he could learn the Kamehameha wave and be great. Pukua, it's Nakua, Puka Nakua. Just combine his names together. Puka Nakua, Pukua. Pikachu. Oh, Lord have mercy. I'm out of my mind. All right. But yeah, Kelly Skipper, the running backs are in good hands. Not a lot to talk about there. And the last coach that I will talk about at all is Matthew Smiley, our special teams coach. Now, Matthew Smiley last year, a lot of us will say he did a piss poor job of coaching the special teams. All right. He didn't do a very good job of special teams. Josh made Diggs an elite wide receivers. This is true. So Diggs, before he came to Buffalo, never had a Pro Bowl, never had any All-Pro selections. Came to Buffalo, got those with Josh. Josh, before Diggs, was an ascending talent, but didn't really do anything. And then that they elevated each other, really, right? Diggs made Josh into an elite level quarterback, and then Josh made Diggs into an elite level wide receiver. They're now going their own ways, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, he's an elite level wide receiver. You don't put up 127 catches, 1,500 yards, and 9 touchdowns in a season if you're not elite. You have to be elite to do that. So Matthew Smiley, his first year or two in Buffalo was very good. Special teams was not a problem. Then this past year didn't look good. I don't know if it was a decline in Tyler Matakevich or if it was a decline in Saran Neal's play, or if it was a decline just in the kickers in general, or the punter in general, or whoever else was around. But they definitely got rid of a lot of those special teams guys. I think they got rid of almost all of them. Freaking Matakavich's not in the team anymore. Saran Neal's not on the team anymore. I think they're just like, you know what, we're going to go with new guys. And now with the new kickoff rule, we have no idea what the hell's going on, which is something that we probably should talk about. And I'll probably talk about it in a future show, going over some NFL rule changes. Most likely that could be a show I do. Yeah. Around the NFL rule changes, the kickoff rule, which I watched the UFL, and then I watched the USFL and the XFL the last couple of years. That kickoff, I loved it because less injuries. Less injuries means that one of your guys who could be an important role player who happens to play special teams is going to be available more likely. There's going to be less, banged up guys, and if your return man is a guy who happens to play defense or offense and actually gets on the field, you're less worried about him getting hurt. I actually like the way that play is run, so we'll see. But Smiley, like Daniel Gardy says here, needs to improve, and he does. But he had a top 5 special teams unit 2 years in a row, and then last year was, pardon my French, it was dog shit. I think that it may have been a one-off. If you coach for 3 years and you had 1 bad year and 2 good years, probably a one-off. Especially if it wasn't like in the middle. If it wasn't like bad year, good year, bad year, good year, bad. If it's just good, and then 1 bad year, like, oh shit, what happened there? Like that's how I'm looking at it with Smiley. If he has another bad year, fire him. Because look, at the end of the year, I was fire Smiley, and then I was like, let me go back, let me look at all the facts, let me see how the special teams was his first year or two. Let me see what he did. Let me see how it went, and it went well. And then last year just. So I like Smiley, but if he has another bad year, if the special teams does not improve this year, he's got to go. Got to get somebody in here who can make sure that this team is disciplined on special teams and conducts themselves in a way that is conducive to the Bills winning games and not losing them because of special teams. This team is too good to be losing, on kickoffs and punts and people muffing the ball or people not calling for fair catches or whatever the hell it is. Like, or people trying to catch a punt, inside the 15. Like, let it go, man. Let it go. But Matthew Smiley is the last guy I was going to talk about. And I was very much pro fire him before, but now I'm not so much. I think that Matt Smiley gets 1 more year to show that this last year was a fluke season, and it was not a true glimpse at what he actually does as a special teams coordinator, and that he can right that ship. Oftentimes, a coordinator will get fired for something like that, but he showed 2 good years, and then crap, you give him a chance. Punting and Bass specifically. So I don't know if I could blame him for Bass missing kicks. And I don't know if I can blame him for Sam Martin's piss poor punting. That to me is mostly on the player. But to me, the average return for the opponents went up this past year. It wasn't just that stuff you're talking about with the kicking. It was also defending the kicking side, the 12 men on the field, the punt returns that we allowed to get deep into our territory. The Jets game where their punt team took the ball all the way into the end zone on that last drive. Like, it was a short punt, yeah, so they probably would just kick the field goal and won it anyway. But also, the special teams was in complete disarray, and that guy just ran it in on us. Horrible, horrible special teams play at times for this team. It's unacceptable. But again, 2 good years prior, 1 bad year. You get some new players in here. You get rid of some of those other guys that we thought were essential for special teams. They're getting older, specifically Tyler Matakevich, Dirty Red. Loved him as a player. Loved him as a character. But it seems that his time here has run its course, so now it's time to move on. But guys, last thing I'm going to talk about, not a person or a coach or anything like that, but people. OTAs, man. Who has been hyped up by these OTAs, man? Keon Coleman, Chase Claypool, freaking Josh Allen out there doing his handshakes with all the guys, all the veterans. If you notice, I don't know if anybody notices, all the veterans had a handshake with Josh Allen, a individual handshake. But Keon Coleman was just a regular handshake. Like, you got to earn that bullshit. You got to earn that. You don't just get one. You got to earn that, rookie. And so when they went, he went to go shake his hand, and then he goes to Tyrell Shavers, and they're, and freaking who's the other one? There's another guy he went to, and it was just like they all got handshakes already, except Keon Coleman. Keep it humble, young man. Keep it humble. Not a lot of stuff to hear about from OTAs yet, though. So just that first day's practice and being excited about the guys being on the field, and Josh being out there and looking pumped and smiling, and he looks relieved. Josh Allen, the look on his face, if I am to be honest with you, when I look at Josh Allen's face right now and how he's conducted himself in these OTAs, every picture I've seen and every video I've seen of him, he looks relieved. He's just like, the weight of the world is off my shoulders. I don't have a specific guy that I have to freaking throw to. I can just read the field, and if my guy's coming open, I can just let it rip and throw him open, because I'm just happy that I don't have to force feed anybody. And I've got a bunch of trees out here to throw to. I got a bunch of trees. Got 4 trees, and I got 2 guys, and they're still 6 foot. In Sherfield and Shakir. 6 foot, 190 for Shakir, I believe it is. And 6 foot, 205 or 210, I think. I'm going to look it up now just because I'm talking about it. Curtis Samuel. Excuse me. 6 foot or 5'11", 195. Wow, I was off. Probably closer on Shakir. 6 foot, 190. So, yep, I was right on with Shakir, and I was about 10 pounds off with Curtis Samuel. See, every step towards the regular season, the draft, OTAs, etc., gets me more psyched for the season. Go Bills. Go Bills, man. Let's just have that, right? Go Bills. Like, this year's gonna be a mystery for us, right? We don't have Diggs, so the mystery at wide receiver is there. We don't have Gabe Davis, so that's a mystery we're relieved of, right? Right now we have a bunch of guys who catch the ball more. Dalton Kincaid. The offense is gonna be run more through him, Shakir, Coleman, Cook, and whoever else decides to show up and shine. I have high hopes for this team. Before Diggs, Josh used to spread the ball around very well. In my opinion, got too focused on keeping. Yes, yeah. When it was John Brown and Cole Beasley, yeah. I think that Diggs, while he brought us superstar potential and a wide receiver who demanded catches, he took away from the multiplicity that was our offense, and that development into that multiplicity that Josh was going through. We'll see what happens. What's up, y'all? Go Bills. No pressure weapons this year. Spread the ball around. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, Augie. But guys, that is my show. God bless all of you. I appreciate you guys for being here. The guys who agree with me, disagree with me, shot me some comments that were hard to answer, or some questions that were hard to answer. I think that the Bills this year, again, my man Morning Mayan Linda West in the building says Josh Allen looks so relieved. I'm right. He looks very relieved. I think that this team has a lot more potential than they're letting on. I think that this offensive scheme with a former offensive coordinator as our offensive line coach is going to be pivotal. I think having a running back coach that's been here for years and knows exactly what our coach wants out of his running backs, pivotal, especially when you're bringing in a rookie. Oh, thanks for the super chat, Linda West. I appreciate that. Thanks for the show. No, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. This is much easier when I have fans who interact and help me along with the show. You guys have no idea how big of a part of the show You guys are. Last week my show was 52 minutes. This week it's an hour and 19 minutes. Like that's 30 more minutes of content just because you guys have been able to give me someone to bounce these ideas off of. You know, that it's just so much better this way. I think that having a show that I can actually talk to people with and get some feedback, that's awesome to me. And I appreciate that super chat. Again, the gesture is beautiful. I appreciate it very much. But yeah, guys, that's my show. I appreciate you all. I was going through a list right there. Yeah. Josh Allen looks relieved. Offensive coordinator with a offensive line coach who was an offensive coordinator. That right there is going to be a team that's worth watching. Wide receivers coach who's coached superstars like Odell Beckham Jr. now has no divas on the team that he can coach up and will most likely be willing to listen. The only exception to that may be Chase Claypool, who has been humbled. The defensive side of the ball, you bring in a secondary coach who knows how to coach man coverage, did it at Georgia and the University of Miami, won a national championship at Georgia, and then has developed some really good talent at Miami the last few years. The guys that they brought in for the coaching staff, to me, show that they realized, A, we made some mistakes. B, we need to bring in some new minds into this staff to help us develop this team to be better and to be able to do more things, because we can't just be one-dimensional. We can't just run zone defense. We can't just pass. We can't just run. We have to be multiple in everything we do. Some games we got to run the ball dominant like we did against the Cowboys last year, and sometimes we got to pass the ball dominant like we did against the Raiders last year. We have to be able to do it all. And so the Bills coach, Sean McDermott, went out of his way to make sure that he got guys that could fill the roles in a way that would bring something new to the table, and also that they did it at a high level in places that they were before they came to Buffalo. I think that's very important. And guys, happy Memorial Day tomorrow. I saw Daniel Garage, your comment right there. Everybody have a good Memorial Day, but remember what the day is for. Yes, people, remember what that day is for. It is for our fallen. It's for our fallen. I have a lot of fallen friends. So God bless you all. Go Bills. Happy Memorial Day. Remember the veterans. Remember the fallen. God bless.